Welcome to the 49 Yard Dash podcast, the podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, and of course, joined by my good friend and co-host, Josh LaFawn. Today, I'm stealing an idea from PFF's NFL podcast. So what we're doing today is me and Josh are going to snake draft style pick 10 players in the league today that we would start our franchise with. So age is included here big time. That's definitely a factor. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Once again, we welcome you to the 49 Yard Dash podcast, the podcast on your San Francisco 49ers. We got a fun episode planned today. I'm looking forward to it. I think Josh is looking forward to it. But before we jumped in to that, I actually just now thought of this during the intro music that I wanted to bring up just real briefly. Because you've seen a lot of the reports, the really silly reports about Trey Lance having poor arm fitness and lots of arm fatigue issues.
Yes.
Well, I bookmarked this tweet just because it was funny. But it's there's a video. I'll text it to you in a minute here. But Trey Lance is throwing some balls to Brandon Ayuk. This was apparently today. He's really laying it out there and throwing some deep ones. I'm pretty sure one grazed a cloud. But Brandon Ayuk tweeted, hey, these were the only three throws. He said the only three throws from the day. His arm got fatigued after that. So he's making fun of the reports, obviously. Another reason why we shouldn't put any stock in them. But I just wanted to briefly touch on that and how funny that was that Ayuk is making fun of those people in their reports.
Yeah. Brandon Ayuk is my favorite BA in the NFL, not Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
No, I think it's very silly. I think it's
absolutely silly. A 22-year-old has poor arm fitness.
Well, and not that North Dakota was Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech run and shoot offense where you're throwing it 60, 70 times a game.
Right.
That would be something where it's like, okay, if you're having arm fatigue in a system like that, then it would be a problem.
Yeah.
There's a reason pitchers in baseball don't go 7, 8, 9 innings anymore. Most of them go through 4 or 5, and then they get pulled.
Yeah.
But in this offense, if your quarterback can't make 20 throws a game, then he's not a quarterback. And Garoppolo was able to do that, and his arm was fatigued multiple times. So even if you buy into Trey Lance's arm fatigue, it's not a problem.
No. Yeah. It's a really, really goofy report. And so I just thought it was funny that IU decided to laugh at it. So that's funny. Great. Yeah.
Just the one serious note on it. It's like you can sit and throw slants all day long. You and I can do that. You can throw 5 slants till the cows come home. But if you're launching it 70 yards down the field 10 times in a row, even in video games, quarterbacks get fatigued and those passes become less accurate. So it's just pretty squirrely that guys are hanging on to that. And I do wonder, put on the tinfoil hat, how much of this stuff is Jimmy Garoppolo back or Jimmy Garoppolo can't back. Because it's like all of a sudden the wave of people who are pro Jimmy, who probably get info from Jimmy, now are crapping on Trey Lance. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, right. No, it is funny, man. In off season, people get bored. They got to say stuff. I'm just ready for season to start, man.
I am too, but I'll say this real quick. I was under the impression, and I guess I must have looked at the wrong cap hit number. I was under the impression the 49ers would still be a penalty to cut Jimmy. Now, I read a report earlier on Twitter. This is completely off the cuff, and it's not fact-based at all. But I did see a deal where the 49ers could cut him this offseason and lose next to nothing. which
Yeah.
I guess in my mind, the whole point of trading him was to get compensation for the player, of course.
Yeah.
But two is because they didn't want to pay the salary. Well,
Yeah.
that kind of changes it in my mind the way I'm looking at it. If you can
Mhm.
cut him and not have any kind of cap hit, then what are we doing here?
Right.
It does
Yeah.
seem kind of like this whole thing is winding down to the point where they're hoping a last ditch effort comes through, maybe waiting on the Deshaun Watson news to come through, hoping the Browns throw a 7th-round
Right.
pick at him
Yeah.
so they don't
Yeah.
lose him for nothing for optics sake. But, it feels like we're heading towards him getting cut really soon.
Yeah. No. Last time we were on, we discussed what we thought would happen, and we both came to the conclusion that we think eventually he's going to get cut. They're just seeing
2
if they
weeks
can
ago
get
feels like
anything.
an eternity, man.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah. Well, you ready to jump into this, man? This is going to be fun.
Man. Let's do it. How are we determining the draft order?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Let's spin the wheel. The wheel is just. Do we have the wheel
Okay.
pulled up? I can spin it right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Spin it. You going to get it on screen?
No, I'm not going to get it on screen. I don't know how to share screen on here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Just a random wheel generator, man.
All right, here we go. I'm going to do the best out of 3. I'm giving you red and me green.
Okay.
All right, it landed on red.
Okay.
Best 2 out of 3.
Oh, and the winner gets what? First pick or their choice? Okay.
They get their choice.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, 1 and 1.
1 and 1. Here's the tiebreaker right here.
All right.
Here
this
we
is
go.
so suspenseful. I'm just staring in the camera.
Here we
Let it roll
go.
up on my screen. Oh, and it landed on Steve right in the middle of red.
Oh, yeah, baby. I'll take 2 and 3. I know.
I'll take 1 and 4.
And would you rather, after I pick 2 and 3, do you want to go back to back every time, or do you just want to go one by one after that? Because the one rule we made was we didn't say this to the audience yet, but the one rule we made beforehand was the first picks have to be quarterback. And the reason is if Josh picks a quarterback, I know I can wait on quarterback till the last pick. So then I get 2 of the top position players. That's a little unfair when the quarterbacks are close.
So we decided back.
Okay, yeah. So I'll get 2 and then just back to back. Okay.
That doesn't make sense, but that's what you and I have always done when we've done team building stuff is snake the first 2 and then back and forth after that.
Yeah, okay.
That's how we like it. That's how we're going to do it.
It honestly is it makes sense in this case, but yeah, go ahead.
No, it does. I don't want to get screwed. I don't want to screw you, literally and figuratively. Number 1 overall, Josh Allen.
I thought that was it.
If you're going to go young, I am starting to be less hype on Patrick Mahomes. His age and everything is not a huge deterrent, but he is a couple years older, and it's kind of a weird deal. I just like Josh Allen more, and I think he's probably a step above the other guys.
No, yeah, I understand, and honestly, part of why I wanted 2 and 3 is because I was going to let you make this decision, take the leftovers, and then just take the top guy that I wanted, and I was going to be okay with it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So who's your quarterback?
Yeah, so I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
The only guys that tempt me at all would be Herbert and Burrow. Both those guys would be great options, but ultimately, with what Mahomes has done, I got to go Mahomes. And then my first pick. This may shock you, but I just like this guy so much. I'm picking Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
Justin Jefferson.
Son of a gun.
I want my wide receiver 1, and Justin Jefferson is my favorite guy. There's a good case for Chase too, of course, but I just like Jefferson so much.
You're a snake, man. You're a snake. That was the next pick.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I got Mahomes and Justin Jefferson.
All right. Well, hey, how about this? Since I had number 1 overall, do I get to go back to back now, or are we just going back and forth? Since I had 1 and 4, do I get 2 in a row, or am I just going 4?
You want to go 2 in a row from now on, or?
No, I'm just saying to even it out. Like since I had 1 and 4 and you had 2 and 3,
yeah,
I get 4 and then I got 2 in a row now, and then we go back and forth.
Okay, yeah, that's
Even
fine.
it up.
Yeah, that's cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. This one was tough for me because I was really planning on going Justin Jefferson. I know I had Jamar Chase ranked over him previously, but I would take Justin Jefferson here. I came down to a couple different areas. I'm not going to go on it too much. I think you got to take the rock solid foundation of your secondary and take Jalen Ramsey. I know he's not super young anymore.
Yeah, I don't
but
blame you.
just a cornerstone player on defense. I considered Aaron Donald, but his retirement rumors and stuff, I wouldn't want to necessarily start a team with him. I know I'm getting 5-6 more good years out of Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, he's definitely he's at the top. Even though his age, he was my number one corner despite the age. He's just that good.
And then at my next pick, this is going to surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not going Aaron Donald, but I do want an interior defensive guy.
Okay.
And I came down to these 2 guys. I don't want to go the homer pick of the guy I usually take. I'm going to go PFF's favorite guy here. And I'm going to take Chris Jones as my defensive lineman on the interior. The highest ranked interior defensive lineman in football.
Man.
Over Buckner,
over Buckner. Man, yeah, no, Chris Jones is a really, really good player. For sure.
All right, so just to determine who we got so far, now that we're settled up, I have Josh Allen, Jalen Ramsey, and Chris Jones.
I have Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson.
And now we're going back and forth. So
now it's just mano-a-mano, one. I think I'm going to screw you.
I wish you would.
I'm going to screw you. I'm taking Jamar Chase.
Son of a gun. I knew I should have taken him.
I'm picking Jamar Chase, and my defense is not as good as yours at the moment, but my offense is going to be utterly ridiculous for 10 years. So
Sure. Well, this isn't going to screw you because he's probably just on your wish list since he's your favorite player, but I'll go George Kittle.
Yeah, George Kittle is he's definitely on my list. Yeah,
I'll take Kittle.
George Kittle, he's one of the most impactful players in the league, most impactful non-quarterbacks in the league for sure. I'm marking him off my list as gone. All right, here is where I will go. I'll go corner, and I'll take the guy that we think is the second best in the league right now, Jair Alexander.
All right. I can live with it.
Yeah.
I can live with it. I will take a bookend guy who should have been on the 49ers. I'll take Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, you knew that was one of my guys.
I did. I knew you were going to go Kittle and Wirfs at some point, and, man, we'll just go on ahead and take him now.
Oh, man, I love Tristan Wirfs, man. He was definitely my number one tackle option. So. Okay. All right.
Now's where it gets interesting.
It is pretty interesting.
This pick marks the halfway point, too.
It does? Wow, we're moving quick, man.
We are moving quick.
Okay, we're both about to have 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to reiterate, as a refresher, Josh Allen, Kittle, and Tristan Wirfs are my offense, and I have Jalen Ramsey, interior defensive lineman, Chris Jones on my defense.
Well, I'm going to make one more offensive pick because I know, just because I don't want to lose out on the tackle prospects, and I'll take Rashawn Slater here.
Okay, that was going to be my next pick as well.
I thought you were going to double up, and I didn't want you to. So
I was playing
like I did with receiver.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So, yeah, the second best tackle on my list.
Yeah, you got to go and get that guy while you can. I don't think you'll go this route right now. You could, but I'm going to grab who I was going to take Slater with the next pick. You took him from me. This was my backup option. The best interior offensive lineman in all of football, I would go Quentin Nelson.
He was also on my list. Yeah.
At 26 years old, you think about his impact, dude. I hate Notre Dame so much. But, man alive, he's a heck of a football player, man. He's a road grader and can play all 5 positions.
Mm-hmm. He's unbelievable, awesome. Especially in the run game. Like, you have this guy, and you're going to have you're going to have open holes in the middle for your running back to run through. No doubt about it.
Which makes it so funny that Carson Wentz was so bad there.
Yeah. Yeah. But Nelson was hurt, but still, like, for a good portion of the year, but still, like,
doesn't.
The Colts still had a great offensive line.
No, they still had a great offensive line, and it just kind of makes you think, like, not that we're talking about Wentz. I don't think we're going to – obviously no one's picking him here. But it's going to be interesting when he's not playing behind any offensive line at all. And Washington, for that matter, he always seems to have the weirdest injuries too, where he's tripping over himself, and you're going from a road grader led by Quentin Nelson to a team that might be electric in space, but doesn't have a lot else going on for it. A lot of questions there. So, but man, I just love me some.
He's unbelievable, man.
I will say I am happy with Wirfs and Nelson as my offensive line.
You have to be. You absolutely have to be. The best right tackle in the league and the best guard, right or left in the league. So, yeah, no, you have to be. All right. I'm going to start working on my defense now. I'm gonna keep it in San Francisco to represent this podcast well, and it's time for me to take my guy Nick Bosa as my edge one. So Nick Bosa.
That was also my next pick. I'll take the guy that I was hoping you would take, so I could take Nick Bosa. I'll go T.J. Watt.
That's a good pick. Yeah, he was definitely, of course, on my list as well.
We're already at 7 picks, man. We are flying through this.
Maybe we can talk about them afterwards.
Yeah, we'll expound.
Here's where I have a tough decision to make. There are a few guys that I'm debating between. I have 6 right now. You have 7 right now. So this is my 7th pick.
Correct.
I'm going to go back to back. My other edge, Myles Garrett.
All right, that's a good one too.
Bosa and Garrett were actually my 1 and 2, and Watt my 3, just because the other guys are younger. But Watt did just have the best season.
Yeah, I had Bosa, Watt, and Garrett. So
that makes sense.
Not too much of a weird order.
They're interchangeable.
So here's where I inevitably find myself in a predicament, as I have fun with myself. I have 2 offensive players at skill positions, quarterback and tight end. I have 2 linemen. I have 1 defensive back, and I have 2 defensive linemen. I have 3 picks remaining, 8, 9, and 10, and I have no wide receivers. No corners, really, outside of Ramsey, who I kind of view as a versatile guy, and I have no linebackers. So what do I do here? I think what I do here is I don't know who I'm going to take. And it's where I struggle. I'm kind of between 2 spots, one of them being defensive back. I'm not going to say the defensive back. I'm not going to say what the other one is.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's such a tough decision. I think for me, I value leadership more than anything, and having a captain in the defense. We've got a dog in the back end of Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. I need a real leader here. So I'll take the best linebacker in all of football. I'll go Fred Warner here with this pick.
I was hoping to get Fred at the end of the draft, man. Gosh, that stinks.
Yeah, I can live with that. I can live with taking Fred there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't blame you, man.
So let's just do a review as we're winding down. You're getting to your 8. Actually, go ahead and make your pick, and then we'll review.
Okay, and then we'll review.
Kind of where we stand. Yeah, kind of where we stand at and such.
Okay. I'm debating between 2 guys. So there are 2 players of the same position.
Sure.
One is going to be a 3rd-year player. And in his 2nd year, he played like a superstar. The other guy is going into his 2nd year, so he hasn't had a superstar year.
Yeah.
But I just really like him a lot.
Talking about.
Really?
I know the 2 guys you're talking about. Yeah. And
okay.
I'll let you make your pick, and if I'm wrong, I'll tell you.
Okay. I'm taking Patrick Surtain.
I was thinking you were debating between Patrick Surtain and Tre'Davious White.
Oh, I was actually debating between Patrick Surtain and A.J. Terrell.
I also had him on my list.
Okay, yeah. And I actually had Terrell rated above Surtain as an option, but just now I I didn't go with my own ranking.
So I also was considering Surtain, White, and Terrell or
Yeah.
Fred Warner at that pick.
Yeah,
At the one I just made. So
I really did want Fred Warner too.
no,
I should have known that
pick.
you would have picked him. What a fool!
No, that's a great pick.
Yeah,
What a fool!
To recap, right now I have my offense is Patrick Mahomes, Rashawn Slater, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and my defense is Bosa and Garrett, Jair Alexander, and Patrick Surtain. So, and we both have 2 picks left. And your team,
yeah, I will go AJ Terrell here.
Okay, yeah, that's a smart move. He was just an absolute stud last year.
And I have no wide receivers as I wind down to my 10th and final pick, but I'm sitting on Josh Allen, my quarterback. My weapon, I feel good about in Kittle. I've got Nelson and Wirfs. I've got Terrell Ramsey at my back end. I've got TJ Watt, Chris Jones, and I got Fred Warner running the show. So I like where I sit. Where I'm gonna have a problem with is who I decide on being wide receiver 1 for Josh Allen. But I'm liking where we're sitting at.
I think I could predict who you'll pick, but yeah.
I think you know who I want to take.
Yeah.
Maybe one of 3 guys.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's probably somebody I should take that I don't want to take.
The guy I have in mind that I think you would like to take is who I would take if I were you, like in all seriousness.
Really?
But that's just yeah.
Stay a minute.
Okay. With this, you're not going to spend your last pick on offensive line, so I'm going to just speak freely here.
I should.
I'll just speak freely here. I'm debating between Penei Sewell and Jordan Mailata, the Eagles tackle, who was a stud last year as a rookie too. I liked Sewell more coming out. I didn't even know who Mailata was coming out, but he played really, really well last year. Some would argue better than Sewell last year. But I think I'm going to stick with the thoughts that I had on draft day, that I believed Sewell would be a really, really high-end tackle, and I'm going to bet on him, and I'll pick Penei Sewell.
Yeah, I think that's a smart pick. You look at Sewell's body of work. He was playing on probably a weaker offensive line than the Eagles, although the Lions on paper should have a better line. They were plagued by injuries all year. He was kind of thrown in the fire and kind of had to live trial by fire. Eagles had a much better situation for them to break him in there, just in my opinion. But I'm probably more of a Sewell guy. Can't believe Detroit didn't have to trade to get him when they first drafted him. That's a heck of a coup by Dan Campbell and company to get their bookend tackle in 1 year and then turn around and get their bookend edge the next year.
Yeah.
So pretty awesome for them. But yeah, I'm just more of a Sewell guy. I like his potential more. I like his size more. His attitude too. He's a road grader. He puts that huge eye black on with like the big triangles and smears and
yeah, man.
Looks like he's gonna kill you and your family.
Yeah, man, I love that look, man.
Yeah, he's awesome. So I had 3 guys on this list.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, these guys are going to take.
Yeah, and I can't pick before you, so.
So I was considering A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and CeeDee Lamb.
Okay, yeah.
CD was the guy I mentioned I felt like I should take, but I don't love him. I don't love him. I know analytics and things say that he's an elite receiver. I just something about him. I don't love him. So it came down to, do I take a guy who I actually probably like his potential long term more in Devontae Smith, or do I take the apple of my eye, A.J. Brown? And I think I take my one true love, and I think I take Aaron Joseph Brown. I don't know if that's what A.J. stands for. I'm going to guess it stands for Alexander Johnson. Alejandro won, but I love me some A.J. Brown, man. And I do love Devontae Smith too, but that's just too far to reach for me. If we're giving Josh Allen a weapon, give me a physical guy in A.J.
Yeah. I think that's the right pick. So my wide receiver rankings were Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown.
Mhm.
So to me, hey, that was the top guy on my board, man.
Those were my three, followed by Devontae 4 and CD 5.
I had bunched up together. I couldn't really decide between them. I basically had them in like honorable mention. I had CeeDee Lamb, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, and Terry McLaurin.
See, I just wouldn't build a team around DK and
I understand
and
that. That's
Deebo.
why, I
I
understand.
can't. And then even Terry McLaurin gives me the Sunday scaries because he's just such a burn. I don't know how well that translates.
To me, there was a tier break after AJ Brown. To me,
yeah, I agree. Devontae and CD are kind of that honorable mention category. I know analytics say you should go with CD, but I just don't love him, man. I don't know. I know PFF's got him really high. Actually, he is. CD came in at, let's see here. He came in at number 6 this year behind Chase, Jefferson, Deebo, Kupp, and Devontae Adams. But I just don't love him there. You look down the list, and actually AJ Brown's all the way at 14, Terry McLaurin 15, and then a real stinker here. Keenan Allen 20 and Mike Evans 21. So I just couldn't put stock in that, man.
Yeah.
I just feel like AJ Brown's such more physical, and it kind of came down to, do I want like a physical force at wide receiver, or like a finesse guy who's an elite route runner, Devontae Smith?
Yeah.
Had I not screwed myself, I would have went AJ and Devontae.
I did make. You still do have Kittle, but I did want 2 wide receivers on my group of 10 here, but I didn't expect to get Jefferson and Chase.
No, if you go tight end, you got to go generational. If you had taken Kittle, I would have immediately went 2 wide receivers. I wouldn't have went Hockenson, or Waller, or Kelsey, or anything.
No way. No, Kittle is
Mark
unbelievably impactful and still relatively young. So, all right, my final pick of the draft, man. And now that we're done, I'll tell you the strategy that I had going in mind. Obviously, I wanted a cornerback. I mean, a quarterback. I did want a cornerback too. Obviously, I wanted one of the top 2 quarterback assets. I wanted 2 wide receivers, 2 tackles, 2 edge, 2 corners, my most valuable positions, and then 1 spot for just best player available. And George Kittle and Quentin Nelson were the top 2 on my best player available. Oh, wait, and Fred Warner was 3 on my best player available. So he took 3 of my best player availables.
That'll work.
But my number 4, he's just an absolute weapon on the defensive end, Micah Parsons.
Really?
Yeah, I'll take Micah Parsons. You can do a lot with him. He can play your Mike linebacker, and he can come down and rush the passer. Me and you have talked many times about how I think he's a little bit overhyped and overrated by most right now, but he's still a stud without a doubt.
Yeah, no, I'm actually surprised you didn't double up on the back end. I'm a little. I'm not shocked. I'm a little more surprised you went the Micah Parsons route than a Darius Leonard or a Buckner or a Tre'Davious White or one of these other positions. I'm a little bit surprised you went with the kind of a niche guy in Parsons.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that so I'll read you my best player available list. So these were outside of my premier positions. I had George Kittle. Yeah, George Kittle, Quentin Nelson, Fred Warner. Next up, I had Micah Parsons. But after that, I had Darius Leonard, Jeffrey Simmons, DeForest Buckner. So you mentioned every single guy. You mentioned or picked every single guy except Jeffrey Simmons. So, yeah, we were definitely on the same wavelength mentally with those guys for sure. You just picked a bunch of them.
So walk me through again.
Yeah.
Why did you want to specifically have 2 wide receivers, 2 tackles, 2 edge guys instead of kind of more of a roundabout way that I went, kind of like putting stopgaps in it?
Yeah, so basically I do believe in positional value, not to an extent like PFF does or something like that, but obviously you want a quarterback. But I do think wide receiver, edge, corner, and tackles, just those guys are what win you games, to be honest. I really do believe that. And then I was leaving one pick for just give me a good football player. And depending how the picks went, let's say you would have picked Chase and Brown, right? Because I had a tier break off. I would have just settled with just Jefferson and picked another guy from my best player available list, regardless of position. So basically, I think those are the premier positions and the positions that if you got studs there, you're better off. Those are foundations of winning football teams most of the time. But of course, you don't want to just ignore it entirely and not pick great football players. So
yeah, I'm probably more old school, I guess, and that's why I asked you, because I would rather have one great guy and at one of those premier positions, and then a great guy at what I value as an important position. Hear me talk about the captain of the defense and Fred Warner, a leader in Jalen Ramsey, the captain of the offense, a road grader in Quentin Nelson. I've more so prioritized young studs regardless of position. Obviously not punter and kicker, but if I had more picks, I would have even considered Jonathan Taylor. I know he's running back. I know there's no value on running backs anymore, but to me, that's a guy who's worthy of being a foundation block of your team. When I look at guys that are foundation blocks, it's more so give me one guy who's a foundation at edge, so I don't have to have two and sacrifice the interior. Give me a solid guy in TJ, and I'll like the 49ers right now. You got Samson Ebicon on one side, Nick Bosa on the other. Wouldn't it be awesome if you still had DeForest Buckner in the middle, who they could have afforded? To me, I would rather have that situation than Bosa and Micah Parsons. I know that sounds crazy, but I'd rather know that I'm solid in two different areas than great at the edge, and then I'm sacrificing a great player in the middle just to prioritize the edge because of pass rushing. Same thing with offensive line. I'd rather have one bookend tackle in Tristan Wirfs and then a guy who I can depend on in Quentin Nelson than just another above average tackle opposite Wirfs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I guess
I could have gotten Rashawn Slater. I would have taken him over Quentin Nelson because you can't pass that up. But when it came down to it for me, once he came off the board, I wouldn't want to reach for a tackle just to have a tackle.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a surefire guy in Nelson. Same thing when you took Jefferson and Chase, my number 1 and 2 guy off my board. To me, it was a no-brainer to take Kittle because he's a surefire thing. I would know what I was getting with him. I was building a team,
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. And with the edge one specifically, I think that makes total sense because you look at like the Chargers last year, their one biggest weakness was they couldn't stop the run is because they had no defensive tackles. So they're still important. But with my mindset on how I'm building this team specifically, if I'm that good at edge, obviously I'm really good rushing the passer, right? If I can just find two big meaty jokers in free agency to throw in the middle and just not be terrible against the run, then I think that comes together as a really, really good defensive line.
See, and I think that's interesting too. Not to cut you off, but I think I've kind of taken more of a 49ers team building standpoint. Like I compare the 49ers a lot in my mind anyway to the Spurs of the NBA, where they're zagging while everyone else is zagging. They're not doing the whole we have to have 2-star edges, we have to have 2-star wide receivers, we have to have X, Y, and Z. We're going to build it our way. We're going to go out and pay Lincoln Tomlinson before he left this year. We're going to go out and pay him, way over what it was because we needed an interior guy. And it worked out for him. Had the best offensive line of football a couple of years, at least on paper.
Yeah. And paying a tight end and paying a linebacker, two positions that analytics say.
But who's had the most success? The Spurs make the playoffs every year for almost 20 years. The
Yeah.
49ers have been inches away from winning multiple NFC championships and Super Bowls over the last few years. They've just been one or two pieces away. I don't think if you do what everybody else is doing, you're necessarily going to replicate that success. Everybody else thinks you have to do that, and that's what wins. In reality, it doesn't always. Same thing as everybody trying to imitate the Golden State Warriors and have shooters everywhere. Well, you're not going to find Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you're not going to find a Patrick Mahomes and a Tre'Davious White and a Josh Allen everywhere. You got to do something different, So anyway, that's my thinking. Not that yours is wrong. It's just that's.
Oh yeah, it's just different.
That's how I approach it.
Yeah. No, definitely. I do. I think I have a harder time defending my thing on the offensive line because, like, with my defensive line, I feel pretty comfortable with the explanation that I said. Like with Nick Bosa and Myles Garrett, I feel pretty comfortable throwing any two chunky guys in the middle, and I think I'm still going to have a really, really good defensive line. I will say with the offensive line, pressure. It really depends on your quarterback. With Patrick Mahomes, it may be all right, but interior pressure can be really, really damaging for a lot of quarterbacks. With Mahomes, who is really comfortable getting outside of the pocket, it'll probably be all right. I think tackle is more important with someone like Patrick Mahomes, who moves around so much. But if my quarterback was Tom Brady, I don't want a crappy interior offensive line.
No, you can't have one.
Yeah,
you can't. In theory, you should start with your tackles and work in.
Yeah.
Now that everybody runs outside zone, inside zone instead of power anymore, where the offensive linemen are not running downhill to hit the block. They're kind of stretching in space. Your running backs are a little more faster. Your quarterbacks are more agile. In theory, that works. But how many teams do we see try to do that and it doesn't work out? The 49ers were saved because they had, as much as Alex Mack was old, he was still really freaking good. They still had Lincoln Tomlinson.
Mm-hmm.
They had one bookend tackle in Trent Williams, and then right tackle is a rotating door after McGlinchey. And the 49ers were fine for the most part the whole year. And I think if you just had a Trent Williams, and I'd even be so bold as to say throwing in a Slater or Wirfs on the opposite side, but your interior was made up of Aaron Banks in his rookie year, and God knows anybody else they throw out there. Mike McGlinchey sliding into guard or something crazy. I don't think you're having a good year because, like you said, the interior of the offensive line, that's where the pocket's built at. The tackles keep the quarterback from getting murdered.
Yeah.
The pocket's created by those interior three guys.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to have one. For me, left tackle, if you can get one, that's a stud. And then a solid interior guy who can play any of those three positions.
Yeah. No, especially one like Quentin Nelson, who's
If Zach Martin would have up there, I would have considered him too.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, no, Zach Martin, I think, is the second best guard in the league today. I just mentioned it now, an idea that I had for the future.
Sure.
Trying to get maybe Luke and Trey on here. Maybe another time, but picking, let's just say 8 guys, age not involved, just for 2022. And what we can do is this. We all pick 8 guys, regardless of position. I'll throw them on a Madden roster, fill the roster out with 75 overall guys, just average guys, and we could play the teams. Or I could simulate the teams, and we could see the results. Just an idea.
I think you should do that and then simulate. Don't put them all in the same dynasty. You should do one franchise mode. You should do one in the franchise mode, simulate the season to see how they end up, and then do the other one, simulate the season, see how they end up, and rank their records, playoff, and all.
We could do that. Yeah.
Just put them all on the same team. Put them all on the 49ers.
Yeah.
There you go. Put them all on the 49ers and just do 8 players. Replace, if they pick Myles Garrett over Nick Bosa, put Myles Garrett in there over Nick Bosa. Like you said, filling it out with 75 overall guys, and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Who's got the best record?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be neat. So should we determine who won this thing, or are we just going to leave it at that? Because I don't know if you can
Let's see.
determine who won it.
I know, right?
It's a tough deal.
So offensively, I have Mahomes protected by Sewell and Slater, throwing to Jefferson and Chase. And then defensively, I have
Just let's leave it at offense for a second.
okay,
I've
yeah.
got Allen protected by Quentin Nelson and Tristan Wirfs, which
Uh-huh.
is probably a push, despite everything you're saying with
Mhm.
Slater
Yeah.
and your guys. Well, I guess with Sewell. I forgot you had Sewell. Yeah, I guess I got an advantage there with
I think so.
probably, yeah. So 1 point for offensive line.
Mhm.
You've got the advantage at wide receiver.
Yeah.
We'll just
Mhm.
count my wide receiver and tight end, Brown and
Yeah.
Kittle versus Chase and Jefferson.
Mhm.
Quarterbacks are probably a push.
Cornerbacks, you
Mahomes and
said?
Allen. No, quarter. Allen and Mahomes.
Quarter. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
quarterbacks are a push. 1 point to you for wide receiver, 1 point to me for offensive line. So it's going to come down to defense.
Yeah.
And this is going to be interesting.
It really is. So let's start on the back with corners. So there's Ramsey and Terrell, Alexander and Surtain. Mine are younger. Yours are better.
That's true.
Yeah.
See, to me, they're different players. I just like Ramsey's makeup better as a guy I'm building around.
Yeah.
I would almost have Ramsey and Alexander is too close for that to be a difference. I know Ramsey is the best corner, but I would have Alexander and Ramsey as a push. And anyway.
Well, I'll just be honest. So my cornerback rankings were Ramsey, Alexander, Terrell, Surtain, even though I picked Surtain over Terrell. I did rank Terrell higher. So I feel like I got to give you the slight edge on corner, even though all four of them are awesome.
I don't even want to necessarily – that feels kind of dirty, I guess, because – and this is what's going to make me lose this thing. But to me, I had your same order, except I had Surtain over Terrell. So to me, you got the guy I was wanting to take.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'd almost still have that push. Like, if they're within one of each other either way.
Yeah, right.
I don't, Ramsey and Alexander are always my kind of 1A and 1B. And then Surtain was the guy I wanted over Terrell in the first place. So to me, anyway, I think defensive back's a push. I think that's the way to leave it. Not to get finicky over it.
That makes sense, yeah.
So it's still 1-1 here.
So here's a good question. And I think this is a really good question. Would you rather have Fred Warner or Micah Parsons long term?
Fred Warner.
Honestly, I had Fred Warner higher on my list. I think Parsons might be more – I think he is more talented. But like you've talked about, Warner being the leader, and I've come on this podcast and talked about how offensive is like the Rams who build their offense on confusing linebackers, and it just doesn't work on Fred Warner, and he's in like two places at once. Fred Warner's awesome.
Yeah, no, and you need a guy who can actually do one thing. I feel like if Micah Parsons, and I'm probably speaking out of my rear end, and this already happened, but I feel like if Micah Parsons went up against Rashawn Slater, we saw what happened. He went opposite Trent Williams, but what happens if you put him on Trent Williams' side?
Yeah.
He fared all right against Tristan Wirfs, I guess, but it didn't blow me out of the water. It wasn't like he dominated him.
Yeah.
So he's a specialist guy to me. He's kind of like an in-betweener, kind of like Aldon Smith, I guess, the original edge, where he's an outside linebacker who probably is a little too big to cover and too finesse to get involved in the run game. I'd rather have a stud guy in Warner who I know his role, and he's going to make sure my whole defense is lined up.
Yeah, I can't argue because I was going to pick Warner over him. So
there you go. And then I think you've got defensive line with Garrett and Bosa over Watt and Jones.
Yeah, to be honest, I would have picked Garrett and Bosa 1 and 2. So there's not two defensive linemen I would pick over those guys.
No. The reason I even went Chris Jones, I would have went Bosa if I could do it over again, and then took Chris Jones. I wasn't going to take two edge. It was for the reasons I said.
Yeah,
That's interior defensive lineman.
It's just a difference in scheme.
And if I could have done it over again, I would have went Bosa 1 and then come back around to Chris Jones for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Pretty evenly built team.
Yeah, I think so. It's really your preference on scheme and if you're more of a intangible guy or a positional value guy, really.
Yeah. And I do think talent does win out oftentimes, but I think intangibles are what gets you there.
Yeah, definitely so.
The Cowboys have had the most talented roster in football the last 5,000 years, and somehow they haven't been in the Super Bowl in 25.
Yeah.
So
that's Cowboys for you, my man.
Or actually 30 years now. Jeez. Yeah. But no, that's the thing for me. I would rather be, and not to make this a homer as we're wrapping up, I do feel privileged to be a 49ers fan because I do enjoy watching a team that zigs when other people zags. That's one thing I like about Michigan football is they ran it for 444 yards and whatever. I'm saying that. But they ran it down Ohio State's throat, and this was supposed to be the spread, the best version of the spread, and everybody's running the spread. Well, sometimes it pays to do something different.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's why the 49ers have had their success. You look back at the playoff run, they're zigging while everyone else is zagging.
Mostert running for 200 yards.
You've got a guy who was the third string running back at Purdue, was a kick returner and punt returner more than anything, and ends up carrying the ball for over 200 yards multiple times that year in the playoffs. They ride in the Super Bowl because of the fact you're doing something different. If you trot out Jimmy Garoppolo and try to run 4 wide, 5 wide like everybody else is doing, it's not going to work out for you.
No.
So it is nice to like a team that does unique stuff.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so, man. Well, I'm shocked. We were worried about time, and now we're 47 minutes in. That went by.
Yeah.
That flew by, man. Yeah.
It did. It flew by out the gate, and then I think we were able to drag it out a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you got a fact of the week for us, man, to wrap this thing up?
Did you ever watch Power Rangers growing up?
I did. I like the red one.
Right. You like the red one?
Yeah.
I also like the red one.
Okay.
This is interesting. This isn't a joke or anything. I was just making sure you're familiar. You familiar with the fight scenes in Power Rangers?
Just in general?
Yeah.
You're
familiar when they transform and they do the karate moves?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with when they're roaming about school and they're going about their everyday life? You're familiar with those scenes? When they're all talking, they're not in uniform,
Okay,
they're not always fighting. They're living their life. Would you believe me if I told you that those were 2 completely different shows?
Really?
Well, I'm here to tell you today that they are. The creator of that show, who was a Jewish man, hit the mother load from Israel. He took the scenes from the original Power Rangers show, which was produced and shown in Japan. All the fight scenes in Power Rangers were from the Japanese original version, and all these scenes you see with the kids were performed by the actors that you see. So the scenes where they're in school and they're not in their uniforms and costumes and all that, that's one show. And then the fight scenes are literally copy and pasted from the original Japanese show.
Wow. That's wild.
Yes. My mind was blown.
Man. Lazy.
Also,
Americans,
he is, man. Also, Yellow Power Ranger's dead. She died in a car accident many years ago. All right.
The Yellow Power Ranger?
Yes.
Dang.
Yes. The Yellow Power Ranger.
Yellow is the most joyous color, too.
Yes.
It's depressing. Well, on that note, this has been the 49-yard dash. And if you happen to be listening and have an opinion on whose team you would take long term, leave a comment. I don't expect to see one, but maybe we will. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be hopefully having Luke and Trey on, but for now, this has been the 49-yard dash. I'm Steven. That's Josh, and peace out, everybody.
Yep.